لي أنا أدخل معكم تحت الكساء، فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع عمتي، كذا زنت لك. فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن أمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، تأذنوا لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. فقال وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي ويا خليفتي وصاحب لواعي، كذا زنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا عبته يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. وقال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء، أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وعمع بيداه اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إني هؤلاء أهل البيت وخاصتي وحمتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إنما خلقت سماعا مبنيا ولا عرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبتي هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذنوني أن أحبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فحبت الأمين جبرائيل قال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بتحيتي والكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماعا مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنوا لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال يا رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
قال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد.
قال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني. قال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالتي نجي عما ذكر خبرنا هذا في نجي عما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل محافل أهل الأرض وفي حين جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى عين يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام عزا والله فزنا وفزا شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيعا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محافل أهل الأرض جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيح محمود إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغمون إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالبه حاجة إلا وكذا الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام عزا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا وفزنا وسوعدنا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
میں زید صاحب کو دعوت دیتا ہوں کہ فرش عذاب پہ آئیں اور اپنا کلام پیش کریں. جناب زید صاحب.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
جناب سکینہ کی یہ شہادت کے دن چلنے اسی مناسبت سے چند اشعار کہنے کی جسارت کی سلوات دی.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا، شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا، ہر اذیت پہ چچا جان کو، ہر اذیت پہ چچا جان کو بلایا بابا، شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. اب تو ہر ایک بلاتا ہے یتیماں کہہ کر، اب تو ہر ایک بلاتا ہے یتیماں کہہ کر، کوئی اب مجھ کو نہیں کہتا، کوئی اب مجھ کو نہیں کہتا سکینہ بابا، شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. ظلم ظالم کے سہے ننھی جو معصوماں نے، ظلم ظالم کے سہے ننھی جو معصوماں نے، ہو گئی 4 برس میں یہ، ہو گئی 4 برس میں یہ ضعیفہ بابا، شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. سر شبیر پہ بولیے سکینہ رو کر، سر شبیر پہ بولیے سکینہ رو کر، آپ کے بعد کہیں چین، آپ کے بعد کہیں چین نہ پایا بابا، شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. رب سے مانگا تھا سکینہ کو نماز شب میں، رب سے مانگا تھا سکینہ کو نماز شب میں، مر گئی شام کے زنداں میں، مر گئی شام کے زنداں میں یتیمہ بابا، سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. اس طرح کوئی نہ اجڑے یہ دعا ہے میری. اس طرح کوئی نہ اجڑے یہ دعا ہے میری. جس طرح آپ کی اجڑی ہے، جس طرح آپ کی اجڑی ہے یہ دکھیا بابا. شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. باپ کے سینے پہ عادت تھی مجھے سونے کی. باپ کے سینے پہ عادت تھی مجھے سونے کی. اب کہاں نیند کہاں آپ، اب کہاں نیند کہاں آپ کا سینہ بابا. شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. پانی دکھلاتے ہی ریتی پہ گرایا بابا. پانی دکھلاتے ہی ریتی پہ گرایا بابا. شمر سے جب میں نے مانگا تو جھڑکتا بابا. شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. قید خانے میں نہ گھٹ گھٹ کے کہیں مر جاؤں. قید خانے میں نہ گھٹ گھٹ کے کہیں مر جاؤں. قید خانے سے سکینہ کو، قید خانے سے سکینہ کو چھڑانا بابا. شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا. مقطع پہ سن. رک گیا زیدی قلم جب یہ کہا سکینہ نے. رک گیا زیدی قلم جب یہ سکینہ نے کہا. شمر نے مجھ کو کنیزی میں، شمر نے مجھ کو کنیزی میں ہے مانگا بابا. شمر نے بالی سکینہ کو ستایا بابا.
اپنے
جی میں پڑھ لیتا ہوں.
محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
بارے دیگر سنتا ہوں. میں اس کے نام سے کرتا ہوں ابتدائے سخن، میں اس کے نام سے کرتا ہوں ابتدائے سخن. ضمیر کن سے اگاتا ہے جو ضمیر و زمن. صلوات پر محمد اللہ تبارک تعالیٰ کی شان میں چند اشعار. میں اس طرح تیری ثنا کے بغیر میں اس طرح سے ہوں یار تیری ثنا کے بغیر کہ جیسے جی نہیں سکتا کوئی ہوا کے بغیر کہ جیسے جی نہیں سکتا کوئی ہوا کے بغیر اور نہ مجھ سے حمد کا ایک لفظ بھی رقم ہوتا نہ مجھ سے حمد کا ایک لفظ بھی رقم ہوتا خدائے آل محمد تیری عطا کے بغیر خدائے آل محمد تیری عطا کے بغیر اور قسم نبی کی ادھوری کتاب لگتی ہے بیاض حمد مجھے نعت مصطفیٰ کے بغیر بیاض حمد مجھے نعت مرتضیٰ کے بغیر نہ میری حمد مکمل ہے مرتضیٰ کے بغیر نہ میری حمد مکمل ہے مصطفیٰ نہ میری حمد مکمل ہے مصطفیٰ کے بغیر نہ میری حمد مکمل ہے مصطفیٰ کے بغیر نہ میری نعت مکمل ہے مرتضیٰ کے بغیر صبح پر
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
آپ سلام پڑھیں
نعرہ صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بارے دیگر صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So تین اشعار پیش خدمت ہیں، ایک دفعہ درود کی گزارش
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
کام آئے رفقا شاہ کے جب میدان میں کام آئے رفقا شاہ کے جب میدان میں اور اکیلا رہا وہ شاہ عرب میدان میں آ کے مجرا کیا عباس نے تب میدان میں روکے کی عرض کے ہم جاتے ہیں اب میدان میں شین فرمایا کہ تنہا تو نہ چھوڑے جاؤ بھائی عباس کمر میری نہ توڑے جاؤ کام آئے سلام کے چند اشعار پیش خدمت ہیں، ایک دفعہ درود کی گزارش
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
کھچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کر بلا اب تک کھچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کر بلا اب تک نظر میں ہے ستم و جور اشقیا اب تک کھچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کر بلا اب تک یہ اس رسول کی اداس اداس ہے اس دشت کی فضا اب تک کھینچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کربلا اب تک جو کربلا میں قیامت تھی بات قتل حسین سنائی دیتے ہیں وہ نالوں اب تک کھینچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کربلا اب تک ملا نظرے غنچہ دہن کو قطرہ تڑپ رہی ہے اسی غم میں القمہ اب تک تڑپ رہی ہے اسی غم میں القمہ اب تک کھینچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کربلا اب تک اذان دی تھی جو اکبر نے صبح عاشورا فضا میں گونج رہی ہے وہی صدا اب تک فضا میں گونج رہی ہے وہی صدا اب تک کھینچی ہوئی ہے تصور میں کربلا اب تک نہ جانے بارواں ساقی کب آئے گا علاج گردش دوران نہ ہو سکا اب تک علاج گردش دوران نہ ہو سکا اب تک کھینچی ہوئی ہے تصور
اللهم صل على محمد
جناب ظاہر نقوی صاحب مرحوم اور جملہ تمام مرحوم مومنین مومنات کی سال ثواب کے لیے سورہ جیلوں میں شہدائے کربلا کی مناسبت سے مرثیے کی چند بند پیش خدمت ہیں ایک درود کی گزارش
اللهم صل على محمد
جب اربعین کو آئے حرم قتلگاہ میں جب اربعین کو آئے حرم قتلگاہ میں تاریک آسمانوں زمین تھی نگاہ میں پنہا تھا شکل کعبہ لباس سیاہ میں
بھولتے سو گے شہید الہ میں روئی جو شاہزادیاں منہ ڈھانپ ڈھانپ کے لاشیں حسین رہ گئی بس کانپ کانپ کے لاشیں حسین رہ گئی بس کانپ کانپ کے یوں خاک پر پڑا تھا مراقب طول کا آجا جدا تھے لاشوں کے اور دست و پا جدا بے گور و بے کفن تھے شہیدان کربلا کوئی کسی کی لاش پہ جز بے کسی نہ تھا کوئی کسی کی لاش پہ جز بے کسی نہ تھا افتاد خاک پر تھا سلیمان کربلا پر جبرائیل کا تھا نام دامان کربلا پر جبرائیل کا تھا نہ دامان کربلا یوں پہلوئے حسین میں تھا لاشے باچھوں میں دودھ لب پہ انگوٹھا گلے تھی وقت قضا ملا تھا جو سونا پوشی کھولے ہوئے دہن تھا وہ رش کے مرے منی کھولے ہوئے دہن تھا وہ رش کے مرے منی ننھا سا کرتا تن میں لہو سے بھرا ہوا ایک ہاتھ تھا حسین کا اس پر دھرا ہوا ایک ہاتھ تھا حسین کا اس پر دھرا ہوا اکبر تھے یوں قریب شہنشاہ نیک ٹکڑے بدن کلیجے میں برچھی جگر بہار 18ویں برس میں زمانے کی وفا نیزے کا پھل ملا ثمرے گلشن حیات نیزے کا پھل ملا ثمرے گلشن حیات فرزند پیاسے تھے بسرے بھوتراب کے دو چاند پہلوؤں میں تھے ایک آفتاب کے دو چاند پہلوؤں میں تھے آفتاب کے دولہا کی لاش اکبر مظلوم کے قریب شادی نے آسماں کا پورا تھا سرے زمین کنگھا کہیں تھا صحرا کہیں جوڑا تھا کہیں ناشاد و نامراد و پرارمان و دل عزیز ناشاد و نامراد و پرارمان
ناگاہ کی حرم نے ناگاہ کی نگاہ حرم نے سوئے فرات دیکھا پڑا ہے لاشے عباس نے سینے پہ مشک لاش کے پہلو میں دونوں ہر دم زخم سے کہتا ہے موئے ہر دم زخم سے کہتا ہے وہ سینے پہ تلک ہے نشانی سکینہ کے پردہ دریغ تشنا دہانی سکینہ کی پردہ دریغ تشنا دہانی سکینہ کی سجاد کا یہ نوحہ تھا زینب کی وہ ایک قبر کی جگہ دو بہن کو بھی بھائی جان پہلو تمہارا چھوڑ کے جائے بہن کہاں سب سے حجاب ہوگا مدینے کے درمیان سب سے حجاب ہوگا مدینے کے درمیان زینب عزیز مردہ کسے منہ دکھائے گی سوئے وطن نہ جائے گی زینب نہ جائے گی سوئے وطن نہ جائے گی زینب نہ جائے گی یا قصد دفن شاہ کا سجاد نے کیا زخموں سے پہلے نیزوں پہکار لیے جدا خودنے لگی جو قبر شہنشاہ کربلا ایک لوح نکلی جس پہ یہ مضمون تھا کھلا ایک لوح نکلی جس پہ یہ مضمون تھا کھلا زہرا کے گیسوؤں پہ پڑیاں کی خاک ہے ابن ابو تراب کی یہ قبر پاک ہے ابن ابو تراب کی یہ قبر پاک ہے جب بھائی کو آئے
اللهم صل على محمد
We are honored to have Maulana Abu Sumayya with us for these 4 majalis. Today is the 3rd majlis of the program. Tomorrow the majlis on Idea of Arba'in will be at 5:30. And Maulana's subject for this majalis has been building a wilaya-based identity and community. It's a very important message, and mashallah, he comes very well prepared. He's a research academic scholar, and is the academic director of the Shia Research Institute, established, the first institute of its kind established in Toronto, Canada. So please welcome Maulana with a loud salawat.
محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
Can we begin by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha for Zahir Hussain Naqvi, Naseem Fatima Naqvi, Lubna Naqvi, Iftikhar Zaidi, and all other marhumin, rahimallah, man qara'a Surah Al-Mubarak Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من اللعين الغوي الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين هو رحمة الله للعالمين وهو أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد. والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الميامين المهديين المعصومين المظلومين المقتولين الميامين، ولعنة الله دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عداواتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إنما المؤمنون إخوة فاصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. Continuing with last night's discussion about social wilaya, or the principles of social wilaya. Minded, wilaya and walaya mean two different things. They're two different things. Wilaya is indicative of imara, or leadership, or governance. Walaya is divine friendship. It's a very long discussion that one fatha and kasra changes the meaning of the word. It's not the same word. Wilaya and walaya have different meanings. Here we're speaking more about walaya versus wilaya. Nevertheless, that may be a bit semantic, but it's important to know what the words mean when we use them. They're not the same, right? And this social wilaya, which can also be wilaya, because we each have a kind of imara over each other, an authority over each other, so it can be both wilaya and wilaya. But these social spiritual bonds that we build together among one another, and I spoke about this last night, I began this discussion. This is absolutely sacred. I don't know how to convey the absolute indispensable, critical, and fundamental nature of this information and knowledge. Why? Because when we look at the earliest traditions that we have on this subject from the time of the Imams alayhim salam, we find entire chapters and sections only on this subject of social walaya, or social walaya. This divinely inspired friendship and brotherhood and sisterhood among mu'mineen. So clearly it's something profoundly important. It's profoundly important. It's also put in a subject known as Bab Mawasat al-Ikhwan. Mawasat al-Ikhwan, right? Mawasat al-Ikhwan meaning the chapters that deal with the charity, love, and tenderness between believers. These are entire chapters. These are what we call the titles of the abwab. For example, there is a book, Kitab al-Mu'min by Sheikh al-Fiqh al-Jalil Hussein ibn Sa'id al-Kufi al-Ahwazi, one of the companions of the 8th Imam. So these are one of the early books that survived from the time of A'imma Tahirin. So a whole book of Kitab al-Mu'min, the book about the Mu'min. And in this, the companion of the 8th Imam narrates many traditions going back to the Aimma and the Prophet about the rights of believers upon one another. Or another important text is that from Sheikh al-Saduq called Musadaqatul Ikhwan. In there he has numerous chapters on the rights of brothers and sisters over one another, feeding one another, clothing one another, loving one another, caring for one another, and on and on and on. If this was not important, why would the muhaddithin of the earliest period of Islam and Tashayyu and Madhab Ahlul Bayt commit so much importance to this? That for each, it's not just about brotherhood, but each aspect of it, feeding one another, caring for one another, loving one another, forgiving one another, and on and on. So clearly it's something that is of profound importance. And I'll give you an example of how important it is. We go to the chapter from Sheikh Saduq, where he narrates on the chapter Mawasat al-Ikhwan, right? Which is the act of treating and caring for one another or being charitable to each other. So here he narrates a tradition for his isnad going back to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. Which is so interesting, and he says something so interesting here. Imam Baqir asks his companion Aba Ismail, and he says, "Oh, Aba Ismail, have you ever seen a situation where a brother doesn't have an Aba, here Rida in Arabic, and another brother puts one on him because he doesn't have it?" It's a symbolic. Rida in the Arabic language represents nobility. To understand, right? This represents nobility. It's like a mantle in Arabic culture. It's not just about the piece of clothing. It's you see that he's lacking this, he doesn't have this, and you put it on his shoulders. Not you ask him, do you want one, to buy one, to go get one? No, you put it on him yourself. He says, "No, I have not seen something like this." The Imam then asks him, "Have you ever seen a situation where a brother doesn't have izar?" Here is like a kind of pants, loincloth they call it, but a kind of pants in those days. And you get him one. It's not about the pants. This is an example the Imam says. And he says, "No, not really." And the Imam hit Aba Ismail. And he turned to him and he told him, فضرب بيدي عليه فخذه فقال ما هؤلاء بأخوة. This is what kind of brotherhood do you have? It's very interesting for Imam to get so agitated for Allah, of course. Then in another tradition, just to give you an example of what muwasat means, or muwasat al-ikhwan, Imam Sadiq says, اختبر شيعتنا في خصلتين, that our Shia will be tested by two attributes, that they should have them, two خصلتين. And if they don't have this, وَإِنْ كَانَتَ فِيهِمْ وَإِلَّا, that they must have this, they should have this, except فَعَزَبْ ثُمَّ عَزَبْ ثُمَّ عَزَبْ, that they are far from good, far from good, far from good, if they don't have these two things. What is this? Muhafadat على الصلوات في مواقيتهن. Preserving the 5 prayers at their time. ومواساة للإخوان. And caring, loving, and serving their brothers. So after namaz, this becomes the most important thing. So he says the Shia will be tested with these 2 things. So clearly it is something extremely important, which brings us to the point from last night where I began about the 7 rights that a Muslim has upon another Muslim. And the Imam describes these rights, and here Muslim here can also be defined as mu'min, it's not just general, right? The complete believer. Imam says, as I mentioned yesterday, all of these are wajibat. Wajibat sab'a, 7. And the one who does not perform these things has no portion with God. Ma lahu nasib. Very profound. Meaning it's incumbent on every believer to know these things. That's why at the beginning of the discussion, the Imam hesitated to tell Mu'alla about this. Because he says, Mu'alla, do you really want to know what your brother next to you, your sister next to you, what their right is? Because once you know that you're not fulfilling their human right that the believer has upon you, now you will be held accountable in the court of God. Sometimes it's better to have never known than to know in some ways. And not in the sense of not knowing, but in the sense of sincerely not knowing. Not in the sense of knowledge is out there and not seeking it, but sincerely not being aware of something. There's different. So Imam tells him, right? He says that the first of them is the easiest, which is to think, to love what for your brother what you love for yourself, and to hate for your brother what you hate for yourself. Very easy. The Imam starts with a so-called softball. والحق الثاني أن تجتنب سخطه, to avoid ever angering him or her. تجتنب سخطه وتتبع مرضاته, and to pursue that which makes your brother or sister happy. That their happiness and preventing something that would make them upset or angry is your utmost priority. وَتُطِيعُ أَمْرَهُ, and to obey him. If he asks you to do something, consider it an amr. Subhanallah. تُطِيعُ أَمْرَهُ. It's very profound. This is the wilaya-based identity. That's why the Prophet says that the one who brings happiness to a believer, this is in Kitab al-Mu'min, narrated in Kitab al-Mu'min of Al-Ahwazi. The one who brings surur to a mu'min, the Prophet says, has brought happiness to me, and the one who brings happiness to me has brought happiness to God. So they're pleasing God by helping another believer. And likewise, the vice versa occurs. Now think of this. If this is the right of you or me over our fellow brother or sister in our community, what is the right of the daughter of the Messenger of Allah? Just think in terms of this. If this is the basic wajib etiquette between mu'mineen and mu'minat, then what is the etiquette to be given to Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen? Leave aside burning her home or threatening to burn her home. Musibat of Ahlul Bayt can be understood when we understand how far people claiming to be Muslim transgress even the basic etiquettes of being a Muslim. So if this is the rights of a fellow mu'min or mu'mina, then what is the right of the alim? Remember, everything in Islam has its levels, darajat. You and a scholar are not on the same level. Khalas. Islam tells us that. Why? Because what does it say? Imam al-Hadi tells us, لولا من يبقى لولا من يبقى بعد غيبة قائمكم, that if the scholar was not left, the one that, if a person was not left during the occultation, what is the function? من العلماء داعين إليه, from the scholars who invite people to the Imam of the time. وَدَالِينَ عَلَيْهِ, and they guide them to him. وَذَابِينَ عَنْ دِينِهِ بِحُجَّةِ اللَّهِ, and these scholars sacrifice themselves with the proofs of God, with the evidences that Allah has given. Dhabeen, they're sacrificing so that you don't have to sacrifice. This is what Imam al-Hadi is saying. They sacrifice so that others among the Shia don't have to do such level of sacrifice or effort. المنقذين ضعفاء عباد الله, and they are the saviors. They save the weak among the servants of God. That the servants and the slaves of God, among them are weak ones and among them are strong ones. The role of the alim is to be the savior for the weakest link among you. Min shibak shaitan, from the plotting and the temptations of Satan. وَمِن فُخَاكِ النَّوَاسِبِ, and from the ambushes and the evil planning of the nawasib, that is those who wish to kill or have hatred towards the Ahlul Bayt and towards the followers of Ahlul Bayt in this context. Right? And we know just recently there was an attempt to poison the food of Arba'in, to poison the food supply. Can you imagine? This is the extent to which these Daesh, Wahhabi terrorists, claiming to be Muslims, of father of what, I don't know, they foiled an attempt to poison the food supply. This is the extent to which, and our ulama are here to save us from this. Our maraja are here to guide us during these very difficult times, to tell us what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go, where we should be strategically, where we should not be strategically, to protect, to save the followers of Ahlul Bayt. So if this is the right of your brother, of you two sitting next to each other, let us assume, then what is the right of this person? Remember, everything, kullu shay fi makanihi. Everything has its place. There's no flatness here. There's different levels. Why? Because look at what the Imam says, and I'm like, he says that if this person did not exist, لَمَا بَقِيَ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا ارْتَدَّ عَنْ دِينِ اللَّهِ, that there would be no one left except they would have left the religion of God. لَكِنُّهُمَ الَّذِينَ يُمْسِكُونَ أَزِمَّةُ الْقُلُوبِ ضُعَفَاءِ الشِّيعَةِ, but there are those scholars who hold on to the hearts of the weak of the Shia, that the weak ones, especially among the Shia, who might get misguided here, misguided there, they don't have strong deen, strong knowledge, maybe they haven't studied. They can get misguided. So the role of the scholar is for their hearts to be put into his hand. This minbar is a profound place because the mu'minun, as Sayyid Sistani explains, are intelligent people who have chosen to listen to such an individual for whom they are, by this hadith and others like it, are putting their qulub in his hand or her hand, for sisters giving lectures to sisters. This is not some joke. Na'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. This is the role of the alim, of the scholar, in the words of A'imma, not in my words, not in my theories or my opinions, my ara and hawa, no. This is what we know as the madhab of Ahlul Bayt. This is the rule. This is the importance of majalis. If the majalis is given that importance as a place for salvation, for saving us. وَهُمَ الْأَفْضَلُونَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, and they are the most virtuous in the eyes of God. Afdal, right? That when it comes to rights, al-afdal, wal-afdal, that it goes according to virtue, the level of these rights. So, these rules are of course not unconditional about avoiding the unhappiness of the believer, pleasing the believer. Because I remember one brother I spoke to many years ago attended the music party of his son's wedding. Unfortunately, some Shia are performing this, haram activities. And so he insisted, we want to have this and that and all these haram things. And I remember sitting with the brother and counseling him, saying, this is not good, brother. Don't start your marriage with this kind of terrible thing, that's bringing the adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You finish hadith al-kisa and then go straight into shaitan. Don't know how the two even come together anyhow. It's not like one cancels the other. It doesn't work that way out. You don't end at zero. You end in negative. And I remember meeting his father, because we were all received invitations to the walima, or to the reception rather, wedding reception. I remember asking the father one day, I said, uncle, you are from such a sharif a'ila, such a sharif family, known as mu'mineen, servants of the community, khuddam of Imam Barka, Husseiniya, for years, you, your grandparents, going back to whatever country you're from. I said, how are you going to, for the sake of Allah and Imam, and all the service you've given to Imam Barka, to Husseiniya, to Masjid, how are you going to spoil all this now? For the sake of Imam, of course, because this is Imam Barka, you're servant of Imam. Not servant of the people, ultimately you're serving the Imam. He looked at me, he said, this is what he wants. So even the father or the mother can be tested in a situation where these rights are not absolute. They're conditional on the pleasure of Allah and the Imam. Not absolute. Nobody's happiness is absolute except Allah and the Ma'soom. And only these two. No one else. Right? So people get misguided also with these things in pursuing someone else's happiness. No one else's happiness is pursued at the expense of that person's Jahannam. Okay? Whether it be nikah or walima or whatever it is. Too often these sacrifices are made at the expense of someone's own position in front of Allah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa So, right number 3. So right number 2 is to keep mu'mineen happy. To do our best to avoid displeasing them. Number 3, الحق الثالث أن تعينه بنفسك ومالك ولسانك ويدك ورجلك. To help our fellow brother or sister with ourselves. Meaning not to delegate to other people. This is what it means. If you know you want to help someone, help them yourself. Don't pass the buck on to the next person. Doesn't work that way. It's wajib on you, not wajib on the guy next to you. If you know it, it's wajib on you. So it's upon me and you to fulfill that ourselves, binafsik. How? With our wealth, with our tongue, with our hand, and with our feet. Basically in every single way. If we are in public, we speak his or her khair. Mahasin will be mahasin al-kalam only. If someone is speaking ill, we stand up to defend him. This is with our tongue. This is the number 1 test, the Imam said. When if our brother is not there, do we at least protect his sanctity in private? Leave aside violating it. That's a sin completely. And when he's not there, we only speak well of him. That's how we can help him with our tongue. All matters of this world and the next world, we read. Umur al-ukhrawiyya wa dunyawiyya. Everything that relates to akhirat and dunya, we will do everything in our power, with our tongue, with our hand, with our feet, meaning with our entire self, to make sure that my brother or my sister is taken care of in this world and for the maslahat of the hereafter. Normally we think that this is the relationship between father and son, isn't it? Between mother and child, child and mother, right? No, this is not about family. This is about you guys sitting here. I remember one of my teachers, Sheikh Bahmanpur, telling me many years ago, this is maybe 17, 18 years ago. I remember him saying once, he probably doesn't even remember saying it. He said, and I remember it stayed in Medina over 17 years ago, that's just a short statement. He said, the loss of someone else's child is just like the loss of your own child, and you treat them no differently. What you would feel in terms of sadness and grief and in need of support, that because the movement has surrendered themselves to God, they spend nights in prayer, they spend nights in contemplation, they spend nights in reading the Quran, they're watching their tahara and their najasat and all of these things. Their soul then reaches a point of isti'adat and preparation and qabiliyat, that they have so much love and so much empathy and so much compassion that they experience the pain of the person next to them. That's empathy in Islam. Not I'm just sorry for your loss. This is what you each and the sisters in the other room owe one another. Wajib. This is social wilaya. It's very profound. It's very, very, very profound. Like I said, there is volumes on this. I'm just taking one kalam here and there, a few things. We don't have time. We could do all ashra on this. Spend 10 nights going through these things. Now again, I would come back to it. What happens when these rights are not fulfilled? Let's look at the other side of the coin. And I was looking at a riwayah in Al-Kafi and other sources, including Kitab al-Mu'min of Al-Iskafi, not of Iskafi, of Ahwazi. And there Imam Bakr narrates. This is very profound, and I double-checked it. It's widely narrated, the transmission. Jibreel came to the Prophet. So Jibreel is coming to the Prophet. So this is hadithan. What kind of hadith is it? Qudsi. Yes. Just make sure you're awake. It's daytime and we haven't had Nihari or Halim yet. So Mu'mineen inshallah are with me. Inshallah the Halim or the beautiful food, whoever has sponsored it, may Allah bless them, will come after inshallah. So Jibreel comes to the Prophet and he tells him what? So profound. Qala ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, inna rabbaka yaqul, your Lord has said, man ahana abdi al-mu'mina. I have not translated the word ahana yet. I will in a second. Faqad istaqbalani bil muharaba. So whoever commits the act of ihana towards another slave of God, believing slave of God, has taken God to war. Muharabat with Allah Azza wa Jal. An act of muharaba against God, to fight. What is ihana? At first I was thinking, do I say ahana meaning humiliate the mu'min? No. No, it's not. Incorrect. This is Arabic, you have to know al-fiqh al-hadith. That's why these translations are problematic. You have to be very ingrained in the Arabic language to explain this now. You have to go and read. Like I read like 10 different pages just for this word to make sure I impart it correctly. There's a difference between the word idlal and ihana in Arabic. Idlal is humiliation, to humiliate. For example, Imam Hussein was trampled upon, his clothes were ripped, and right? We read this. This is why Imam Rida says, "Adalla Azizana," right? Our Aziz Hussein was made dhaleel, right? Like, so is this what the Imam is saying? No. Al-ihana is an yaj'aluhu munaqad. That's dhaleel, which to make someone dhaleel is to harshly rebuke them, to insult them in a humiliating way, to trample upon their dignity, like they trampled upon Imam Hussein's spiritual dignity and his physical dignity, right? By denying him water, denying his children, hurting his women in front of him. This is dhillah. And then they physically humiliated him by trampling over his body and ransacking his possessions. But this is not ihanat. What's ihanat? And I'll read you from Qamus al-Lugha. This is from the books of Arabic literature. وَالْإِهَانَةُ أَنْ يَجْعَلُهُ الصَّغِيرَ الْأَمْرِ لَا يُبَالِي بِهِ. That you don't think highly of your mu'min brother. You think little of him, so he's not important to you. Ihana is not dhillah. Dhillah is something else. Allah doesn't even tolerate ihanat of the mu'min. He was a dhillat of the mu'min. Ihanat. Does this register? Pause here for a moment. والشاهد قولك استهان به أي لم يبال به لم يلتفت إليه. That this person doesn't even look at him. He's not important. He or she is inconsequential. This is ihana. Allah says the person who thinks like this and behaves like this towards another mu'min has taken me to war. Muharabatullah Azza wa Jalla. We have many ahadith like this. Not one, so many. As I said, go to the sources of hadith and you will see it. Chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter. If this is the case, imagine the azab for the killers of Imam Hussein. Can we even imagine? Those who tore his clothes, cut his finger, fired arrows into his mouth. We read this in Arbab al-Maqatil. This is Aymazah, the Arba'in is coming. This is the Maqtal of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the Agham of Imam Hussein. This is hurtful, yes. If ihanat of the mu'min has this punishment, what about just the complete humiliation shown to the grandson of the Messenger of God? Like, I stopped and had a tear in my eye today because I could not process it. My brain and my heart was not able to process this. This is why there's people just, when they understand and they come to a conclusion of what the musibah of Abu Abdullah was, they go into a complete state of almost like junoon, like a kind of, a temporary state of craziness. I don't mean crazy in a negative way. I mean in a sense of just complete losing themselves. Jaza, hala. Because if this is your hurmat, my hurmat, the sister's hurmat, the hurmat of an yaskar, his infant suckling baby. How could humans become such devils, shayateen and animals to do such things? So then the tears cannot but well up in the eyes of the moment. When they understand the rights of God. It's like crying over humanity. It's like crying over humanity itself. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So we have to do our very, very, very best and say, Na'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. We seek refuge from shaitan. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tawakkul ala Allah. We rely on Allah and we think good of our brothers. We close our eyes. We do isti'adha. Because shaitan will come and say, I think it's not as good as me. This is ihanat. This is really bad. This is really, really terrible. And then with that same mouth, we want to say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allahu Akbar. Mustahil. That namaz is accepted. How? When the person is at war with Allah. If this is the rights of mu'mineen, what about the spouse with whom we share our bed with and our family with? Huh? This is a right of my brother, my neighbor, the one I'm going to sit and have niyaz with shortly. What is the right of the one who I'm having a family with? What is his right or her right? This is not even dhillat, ihanat we're talking about. There's a reason why I'm not going into Arabic language to make it complicated. In order for mu'mineen and mu'minat to understand the gravity of the situation that Imam is putting forward. This requires empathy, compassion. And empathy and compassion comes from training ourselves, from impulse control. That comes from seeking forgiveness from God, from fasting, just having moments of silence to ourselves. Sometimes keeping our tummy a little bit more empty than it needs to be. Because all of this excites the passions, gets us hot, it puts heat into the soul, or the nafs rather, the ego. It requires stepping back, having a little less, moderating our emotions, temperament. Because we can't afford to do ihanat of a single movement. Now, what about wealth now? Do we think giving $1, $2 is good enough? If we look at the example of the Ansar and the Muhajirun, we see in the Quran, of course, nobody's saying we have to do, the later ayat also tell us not to give so much that you put yourself into trouble. Yes, I'm not saying that. But if one is able to, what does Imam as-Sadiq say? There's such an interesting, Imam was doing tawaf with Aban ibn Taqib. What an interesting story. They're in tawaf. And a man comes up to Aban with a need. This is in Al-Kafi and other sources. And he's like, I don't want to leave my Imam. I finally get a chance to be with my Imam. I want to do the thawab of doing tawaf with my Imam. Imam notices Aban is distracted. He says, Aban, what's the situation? He says, this man came to me. He needs some help. The first thing Imam asks Aban is what? هل هو من أصحابنا? Is he from our Aqidah? Like, who is he? So it's not, the rule is everyone doesn't apply. These rights don't apply to every Zayd and Bakr and Jerry and Harry and whoever. No. The Imam first asks, who is he? Is he from us? It's not to say, because the levels, remember, as I have already explained to you, everything has a level. Everything has a level, right? It has to have justice and insaf. He says, yes, yeah. Ibn Rasulullah, he is one of us. Then the Imam says, leave the tawaf, go. He says, but Imam, هذا الطواف فريضة. This is the wajib, the incumbent, obligatory tawaf. Go. Even breaking the obligatory tawaf. And then Aban turns to the Imam and says, but what do I do? Like, can you give me some guidance? And the Imam tells Aban, are you sure you want to hear what I have to tell you? Aban is who? Aban is a great companion of the Imam, Imam Sadiq, one of the great narrators of Hadith. He says, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, please tell me, what do I do? He tells him, فَتُقَاسِمُهُ شَطْرَ مَالِكَ. Give him half of your wealth. Allah! Be careful what you ask Imam for! Because he knew Aban could afford it, of course. He's not putting Aban in it. Aban was well off. He was okay. He knew this companion could handle the test. He was at a level spiritually in his wilaya and his obedience to the Imam that he could handle. So he told Aban, give him half. It's called mushatara. It's a concept in Arabic. In Arabic, it was mushatara. It means to cut your wealth in half, like Imam Hassan did. ثم نظر إليه فرأى فدخلني. And then he says, oh Aban, do you not remember the ayah of the Quran, al-mu'athirina ala anfusihim? Right, that the Ansar gave everything. Even though they were in khasasa, they were in such a difficult situation themselves, they gave everything to the Muhajirun when they came to Makkah. So Aban did it. Then the Imam goes further. Listen to this. Allahu Akbar. Like I said, be careful if you want to go into the Wahwa territory, the deep, high levels. This Nara Haydari comes with a lot of hukuk. A lot of rights and shurut and conditions. Everything's with the shurut, right? If we're saying we're with the Haydar, what does it mean in real life? The Imam then says, if you give him half, you're equal. If you give him the other half, now you have preferred him over you. You're only equal giving half. So what? Now you give him the other from what you need. Not putting yourself into poverty, but you're going to now live on less so that he could live on more. Now you have achieved the ayah of Quran. This is the meaning of Ya Haydar. Who is the Haydar? Because this is all the sifat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we know. Sifat of Ahlul Bayt. This is a social wilaya. This is how it functions. This is how they love one another. How they treat one another. How they care for one another. Sallu ala Muhammad wa So I'll summarize. Number one, to love for yourself what you love for him, and to dislike for yourself what you dislike for him, or to dislike for him what you dislike for yourself, vice versa. Number two, to avoid angering him, to pursue your brother or your sister's happiness as much as possible. As much as possible. And to follow their directions when they give you one. Tuti'u amra. And then number three. What's number three? To help him with all your heart. Give him or her every ounce of your effort. If you can't help with your wealth, then you help with your tongue. If you can't help with your tongue, then you help with your body. But you do whatever you can to make sure that your fellow mu'min brother or sister is taken care of. Number four, and we'll continue tomorrow. أن تكون عينه ودليله ومرآته. That you be his eye, his guide, and his mirror. How beautiful. What does it mean for al-mu'min mir'at al-mu'min anyways? We always hear the mu'min's a believer of the Believer is a mirror of another believer. Fine. But what does it really mean? The Prophet explains beautifully. He explains this as to what this means. Because the Sahaba wanted to know, what does this really mean? I mean, if it's this important, how do we implement it in our life? He says so beautifully, المؤمن مرآة لأخيه ينصحه إذا غاب. That when his brother or sister is not with him, he is absolutely devoted to him. He'll never betray him. He will preserve his dignity and her honor when they are not with him. This is a sign of their sincerity. وَيُمِيتُ عَنْهُ مَا يَكْرَهُ. And he'll push away or remove what is hurtful for them. In some traditions, other. Because he loves his brother or sister so much, if he knows this is going to hurt them or they're going to hurt themselves with this, he will remove that from their life. Meaning he'll work with that person one-on-one to make sure they are the best that they can possibly be. And it's done in such a way that the person doesn't feel ever that they're being put down. Because they already know there's a history that this guy loves me. He's my brother. He loves me truly. There's no doubt. There's no sudan. It doesn't kick in like, oh, because this relationship has to be built step by step. This does not come overnight. It takes time. Through repeated love, repeated compassion, repeated empathy. Then when that day comes where you truly care for your brother and you pick up and you give him a call and you say, look, I really think you could benefit by abstaining from X or Y. Sallu ala Muhammad wa that you could benefit from abstaining from X or Y. Put it that way. And you fulfilled your duty. Or if you see something in his path and you can remove it even without it hurting him to make his path easier, then you do it. That's how much. It's like we even read in the traditions that you foresee his difficulty, perhaps even before he foresees his own difficulty on that path. And you smooth it away right away. And you make it smooth. Because what you want, he wants. Because your souls are one. Remember I spoke about, because God has put into each of us something from his own creation, the ruh. Because we share that with one another, we are forever tied to each other. And on the day of judgment, we will then find out what we have fulfilled or not fulfilled of this. And then the imams will inform us, because we take their name, their slogans, their ziyarah, their azah, and they will inform us where we stand, because we take their names, so have we lived up to what they expect of us as a Shia community. That's it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. So this is a very, very profound concept. I'll save a few more things for tomorrow. I don't want to overburden the mu'mineen today. But I'll repeat again to you, and I really would like this to register, inshallah. This is not easy. Everything I've imparted requires spiritual purification. It requires us spending time in front of God, taking note of what we've done wrong, being honest with Allah, turning to God with tears that I'm a sinner. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I need you to make me right. That I can't fulfill the right of my brother and sister without your help, without your tawfiq, without your divine grace. None of this can be done. I fast with my eyes and my tongue and my tummy, so that I could develop that capacity. Because if I deny myself, I can learn to prefer others. But if I'm constantly, na'udhu billah, feeding myself, I forget about others. It's not simple. That's my point, mu'mineen, mu'minat. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, it's not easy. The spiritual path is always difficult, but at the end, it feels so good, doesn't it? You know it's right. So each and every one of us have to take that step to first be honest in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is muhasabatun nafs, self-accountability. Right? As Imam Sadiq says, Man lam yuhasib, laysa minna man lam yuhasib nafsuhu fi kulli yawmin. That the one who does not account for themselves every day is not from us. And if they do something good, they ask Allah for ziyadah, that there's more. If they do something wrong that night, that day, they seek forgiveness from God. And as we build and we build, we'll find our relationships will shine. With our brothers, with our sisters, with our friends, and most importantly, with our family. With our spouses and our children. Because charity starts at home. All this is vain if it doesn't start in the home. And especially with the one whom we've chosen to share our life with. And this is, as I thought about the musibah for today, wallah, I couldn't but think about the relationship of Imam Hussein and Umar. She loved her husband. The love that she had for him was absolutely mind-boggling. It's incredible. The love between this husband and wife, of course, Masoom Imam and Rabab, it's incredible because we read that after the Imam's death, Rabab, according to some riwayat, spent up to a year in Kufa. Again, some riwayat. Why? Or she spent it with the head of Imam Hussein. Or at least when they were in the court of Ibn Ziyad, it's narrated that when she saw the head of her husband, she grabbed it. She put it in her lap and she began kissing it. She was devastated. And she began to recite some poetry in Arabic, saying, "Oh Allah, La saqiya bi janib Karbala." Oh Allah, don't make this a place filled with water and crops. Why? Because my husband died thirsty on this land. My husband was left on this land with no covering. Our Aziz Hussein was left ala thara. Imagine that moment in the court of Ibn Ziyad. She is kissing the head of Imam Hussein, weeping over him in front of everyone. She just holding the head of her husband. Everything that couple went through, it is the absolute meaning of muwasat. The absolute, everything I've spoken about today, in its most 110% form was manifested between Rabab and Imam Hussein. I mean, for her to give him that baby, think of the relationship. Think of when Imam comes to Rabab asking for the baby. Just saying, I want to bid farewell to the baby. Imam has tears in his eyes, knowing that he's helpless at this point. This baby is starving. This baby is thirsty. And imagine, one of the haqq of the mu'min is that if your brother is thirsty, you remain thirsty until your brother's thirst is quenched. If this is the right of your mu'min brother, what is the right of the son of Hussein ibn Ali? And he asks Rubab for this child. And sometimes I close my eyes, mu'mineen, and I just imagine when his eyes were looking at her eyes. In such a desperate situation, what was their relationship like between this husband and wife? What was the wilayah between Hussein ibn Ali and Rubab alayhi salam? To such an extent that we read from Imam Hussein, he says that Wallah la umrak innani la hubbu dara takunu biha sakina wa rubab. He says there is no love in the home except sakina and rubab should be present. This is how he used to speak about rubab. So think about the muhabbat between them. That Imam doesn't feel love without his wife rubab or sakina. Yet on that day, he comes to his daughter Sakina during the final farewell. Sakina lifts her face veil up and looks فَنَظَرَتْ إِلَى الْحُسَيْنِ. She looks into the face of her father Hussein. She asks him a question. Ya Abba, istaslamta lil-maut. Oh my father, have you submitted to death now? Have you decided that you are going to die? Imam has no words really for Sakina except to say, كَيْفَ لَا يَسْتَسْلِمُ مَنْ لَا نَاصِرَ لَهُ وَلَا مُعِينَ. How can the one who has no helper not submit to death now? Sakina begins to cry. This is the final moments between father and daughter. Right? The one who said that there isn't love in the home without Sakina and Rubab. So now we're going from mother to child. Imam tells her this. And he says basically, how can no one submit to fate? She says, oh my father, will we return to the haram of our grandfather Rasulullah? Will we return to Medina? Imam said, if only the owl was left to sleep. And the women began to scream, Nadat an-nisa wa Husayna wa imama. And the women begin to cry. Why? Because they know that this is the end. This is the akhirah, mu'mineen. This is the end now. Hussein is going out to fight. But among those masaib and those tragedies, what do we read about? We read about the nephew of Muslim ibn Aqil, Muhammad bin Sa'id bin Aqil bin Abi Talib. This little boy ran out from the family of Imam Hussein. He was holding on to a rod and had a chainmail and a shirt on. This little nephew of Imam Hussein looks right and looks left. And the riwayah states that he felt terrified, mad'oor. Hamid bin Muslim says, he says, in those days, the tradition was in the Arab culture, and was that the boys there was a piercing in their ear. And he says, as if I could see his little earrings dangling on his ears, Hamid bin Muslim says. That he was terrified. And Ibn Athir tells us that the boy was 7 years old. As he glanced right and left, he wasn't sure what to do. Hani bin Thabat al-Hadrami tells us that Laqid bin Yasir al-Juhni now chases after the little boy. Imagine, they wouldn't even leave a little boy alone. And they run after. The little boy is looking right and left. He comes out of the khayma. He doesn't know what to do. They start looking at him and chasing. The little boy runs and they run after the little boy. They begin to cut him with their swords over and over and over again. We read, وَأُمُّهُ وَاقِفَةٌ تَنْظُرُ إِلَيْهِ. And his mother was watching him. As they chopped the little boy to pieces, the mother was watching him. Can you imagine the love of a mother for a child having to watch her son die in front of her? Ayab Abdullah, the mother was standing and watching, and this is why we read As-salamu ala Muhammad ibn Abi Sa'id ibn Aqil. Imam al-Zaman has a special salam for this boy. But brothers and sisters, I'll end on this note. Imam Zain al-Abidin narrates to us that when the family of Hussein ibn Ali was brought into Sham, now we are back to Sakina. We're talking about the love of children. Think, if this is the love and the compassion for adults and brothers, what do children owe? What are we owe? What are these children owed? Look at this. It was daylight when they were brought into Sham. Everyone could see them. Makshufat wujuhuhunna, and their faces were uncovered. And the wretched of Ahl al-Sham said that we never saw such beautiful prisoners as we have seen today. Man antum, who are you? Sakina turns and answers him. She says, Nahnu sabaya ala Muhammad. We are the prisoners of the family of the Prophet. Let that hang in your minds for a moment. We are the prisoners of the family of the Prophet. Sakina was the one who conveyed that message to the people of Sham. Ala la'natullahi ala qawm zalimeen matin Hussein.
نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے مینو بازار چ کروائے سفر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے اے محمد دی نواسیاں دسیں دی رہیاں واسطہ تیرا بھی میں لانا پوے دی رہیاں پھر بھی مار دیتے میرے پتر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے جیڑی گردن تو چمدا رہیا نانا سانی چودہ حال ہویا بھلنا نی محشر تانی اس گردن پہ چلا چھوڑ خنجر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے مینوں برکھے کئی سال پلے دی رہیاں آپ جاگاں انہوں سینے تے سوے دی رہیاں پھر چھڈیا اودا کربل جگر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے پتھراں برساتا کہ خطبے پڑھی نو تو نہ سکی دنیا تو نانا ڈر دی ایسا دیتا ہے رسالت کا جرگو پانے نانا بچ پردے سکھ لٹیا میرا گھر لو پانے نانا بچ پردے سکھ لٹیا میرا گھر لو پانے بچ پردے سکھ لٹیا میرا گھر لو کھانے یا حسین 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 یا
قید سے چھٹے کے جو پہنچے تھے حرم کے وہ بلا تو قبر شبیر پہ زینب نے کیا یہ نوحہ کیا یہ نوحہ قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن میرا باس دلا ہے کہاں ماں کرما علی اکبر ہے کہاں بھولے والا علی اصغر ہے کہاں یہ بتاؤ ہے کہاں ابن حسین قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن دیکھو آزاد بہن آئی ہے دیکھو برباد بہن آئی ہے بھائی ناشاد بہن آئی ہے دے نہ پائی جو تمہیں میں کفن قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن خاک بالوں پہ اڑانے والی رنج امت سے اٹھانے والی آئی ہے آنسو بہانے والی کیسے جاتی تیرے بن بھائی بتائیں قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن اربعین کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن ہائے کہتی تھی یہ رو رو مجھتے سر سے چھینی گئی میری چادر تیری جاگیر میں علی اکبر مجھ کو متی سے ملے رہے جو مہیں قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین ہر بڑی کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن ہر بڑی کرنے کو آئی ہے بہن سینہ زن گری آنکھوں نانو بلا ہر بدر خواہ کے بسر غم کے سبب بھائی کی قبر سے لپٹی زینب ضبط کے ٹوٹ گئے سب قید سے ہو کے رہا شاہ زمین ہر بھائی کہنے کو آئی ہے بہن ہر بھائی کہنے کو آئی ہے بہن ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر 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 ایک نیزے پہ سر شہ کا ایک نیزے پہ چادر ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر بیمار کی حالت پہ کچھ رحم نہ کھاتے ہیں رستے میں لئی اس کو دردے جو لگاتے ہیں بس خاک پہ وہ آئے گر جاتا ہے غش کھا کے ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر کہتا ہے کوئی قیدی کہتا ہے کوئی باغی مارا ہے کبھی کرڑا زنجیر کبھی کینچی صدقہ کبھی پہنچا ہے مارے ہیں کبھی پتھر ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر جس وقت وہ گزرے ہیں بازار کی راہوں سے سب خون جگر ان کا بہتا گیا آنکھوں سے وہ بھر نہیں سکتے جو ذوق لگے دل پر ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد
کو یہ منظر ہر گام رلائے گا، سجاد کو یہ منظر
بس ایک ہی رسی میں 12 تھے گلے باندھے، عابد کی سکینہ کو باندھا گیا ناکے سے، تکلیف میں بہنا تھی بھائی کا بہت لاغے، ہر
گام رلائے گا، سجاد کو یہ منظر ہر گام رلائے گا، سجاد کو یہ منظر
بازار کی ہر منزل ازلان رہی تاریخ، 34 برس عابد کرتے رہے خوباری، دل پر میرے مولا کے چلتے ہی رہے خنجر، ہر
گام رلائے گا، سجاد کو یہ منظر حسین 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 حسین
ہو گئے آزاد قیدی، کم سنا ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، ہو گئے آزاد قیدی، کم سنا ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، ہو گئے آزاد قیدی، کم سنا ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، ہو گئی آزاد قیدی، کم سنا ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے بازار میں، کیوں در زندہ سے عابد، کیوں در زندہ سے عابد کی نظر ہٹتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، ہو گئی آزاد قیدی، کم سنا ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، ایک محمل واپسی پر نامکمل رہ گیا، جسم کا سارا لہو آنکھوں سے جس کی بہ گیا، اس کو عابد ڈھونڈتا ہے، اس کو عابد ڈھونڈتا ہے، ہو مگر ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، ہو گئے آزاد قیدی، کم سنا ملتی نہیں، مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں، قید سے جیسی رہائی مل گئی سجاد کو، دیکھ شام کے زندان میں ہو گئے آزاد قیدی کم سلا ملتی نہیں مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں قید کے اندر لحد ہے اور لحد میں بے وطن خاک خیبر جس کی چادر اور کرتا تھا کفن ساتھ اس کی آج زینب ساتھ اس کو آج زینب لے کے جا سکتی نہیں مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں ہو گئے آزاد قیدی کم سلا ملتی نہیں مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں مل گئی سجاد کو واپس ردا اور بالیاں ان کو سینے سے لگا کر مر نہ جائے ناتواں کون عابد کو سنبھالے کون عابد کو سنبھالے ساتھ غازی بھی نہیں مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں ہو گئے آزاد قیدی کم سلا ملتی نہیں مر گئی شاید سکینہ شام کے زندان میں
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله على آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم
السلام على الحسين وعلى علي الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين
خصوصا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين وأختك زينب وأم كلثوم وبنت سكينة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الحادي السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا حجة ابن الحسن يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كبات الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إيمانا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وزهورك ودعنا من أعوانك وأنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وراشدا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه وزكاته وتمتعه فيها تبليغا.
صل على